Hey everybody, it is Larry here again for Leoy Systems and the Leoy channel. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about overhead squat assessments, squatting period, lack of balance, all of these things that we look at to show us that there's a potential dysfunction or a faulty movement pattern. And the first thing we're going to look at is hip tightness and shoulder tightness and maybe some ankle mobility is a big one that everyone talks about. What a lot of people don't talk about, and I haven't seen this discussion, is the big toe. Yeah, the big toe pretty much has a huge effect on your stability, your balance, and your squatting. So I had everything written down so I don't make a mistake here. Tight or weak muscles in the big toe can contribute to imbalances that affect the hips, which in turn impact the lower back and spine. All right? Tight or weak muscles in the big toe. Now, the muscles in the foot and ankle, including those around the big toe, work to maintain proper alignment and balance. We always say build your foundation, work on your foot, if you have any eversion, ankle eversion or inversion, we want to start, working with that. So that's very important, right? But we don't really focus on the big toe, right? Now, when these muscles are weak or tight, they can alter the way the foot and ankle function, leading to overcompensation in other areas such as the hips. How many times have you stubbed a toe, or you landed wrong just a little bit and your ankle isn't the greatest, or even if you just stepped in a crack on the sidewalk and your ankle kind of rolled a little bit, it just didn't feel right. So you limp, you compensate. Then after a while, your hip starts to be like, hey, you stop now. It's bothering me. So we all know that. We've all experienced that. Now, imbalances in the foot and ankle can cause, not a definitive cause, can cause an anterior pelvic tilt, right? Which, as we know, is when you're doing a squat or a squat assessment or anything like that, it's going to show up as a dysfunction, right? We know this. And with that little bit of a lower back discomfort, some spinal issues, feeling it from, this particular thing. Now, the big toe flexor, all right? Now, this is a left foot, right? Here's your big toe, right? Now, there's a muscle here that is designed to flex this toe. So as it's here, we're going to, when you basically make a fist, you're going to flex your fingers, your toes, sorry. If that's tight, so basically if like all this stuff underneath, because that's what comes in, is tight, you're going to get an anterior pelvic tilt. That is going to increase lower back strain. Now, also, the extension, okay, the muscle that's responsible for extension, the extensor, I'm going to butcher this name. I was never good at the anatomical names. Hallucis or hallucis longus muscle, the extensor, right, can cause what they call a hitchhiker toe. Hitchhiker goes down the road, they go like this. Now picture that as your big toe, right? So if here's your big toe, picture this basically extending up, right? But because we have this joint here, it extends at this joint. Now this unfortunately doesn't bend, but you get the idea. So it'll pretty much stick up, as we do it now, just like that, right? Now, as anybody who knows balance and everything, you need your big toe. You need your big toe down in order to have, a solid balance, right? With that hitchhiker toe, that deformity causes now your foot to turn inward. So if this toe is now sticking up, you're going to have to figure out how to put more pressure on to even it out. So now your foot's this way because you're kind of crunk, like that. So you're going to now turn inward. So so once you do that, now your ankle's out, your knee is out of position. Actually, here we go. Here's the knee. So if your foot is turned inward, sorry, you're going to go in, which means that's going to go like that. That's a huge knee issue, sorry, and then which is going to lead to a hip issue. So you can see the breakdown here. When your toe, ankle, knee, hip. Now picture trying to do an overhead squat with that. It's going to appear that you have poor ankle mobility, that you have shoulder mobility issues because you can't get your arms up, but in a sense, you're just off balance because of your toe. We don't look at the toes, which is like, and I'm angry at myself because I never thought to look at that during an assessment. I mean, we always talk about, especially if you do in martial arts, you grip the floor with your toes, that's you get a sturdy foundation. We're not using those in assessments. We always have sneakers on or socks on. So if we start seeing people run around barefoot, I guess, now we know. But yeah, the big toe has a lot to do with our coordination, our balance, and pretty much everything. So let's work on those big toes, people. Let's get some stretches, some extensions, some flexion stretches of the big toe. Keep those muscles functioning, and then, don't neglect the toes. All righty.